Hey everybody, so I want to give you some more instructions about our final project of the semester and also show you some drawings up close so that you can really see what they look like. What we're going to be making is a portfolio so that you can take all of your artwork home inside of it. It'll open like this. There won't be any like pockets or anything, but that's okay. It's going to have your name first or last on it with patterns inside of the letters. And these patterns are called Zendoodles or Zentangles a lot of times. There's lots of books written about this stuff right now, like this one here that we have in our classroom. These show you all different patterns that can be drawn. And people like to do this right now because creating patterns can be really relaxing and a lot of fun. Patterning really just involves the repetition of lines, shapes, colors, or any of the art elements. We'll be using mostly the repetition of lines and shapes. Okay? Lots of lines for this. All right, so I first want to just show you what inspired this project for me. I just really love making Zentangles, and my personal sketchbook that I'm going to let you see some pages of has lots and lots of Zentangle style drawings in them. You can make these in any kind of shape you want. Sometimes I'll make them in just like a random shape, like these, and sometimes they'll be inside of an actual picture, like the shape of an animal or something else. Here's one that's just really free. I like this because when I make these kinds of designs, I don't know what it's going to turn out like until it's all finished. So I just work with a permanent marker, like a Sharpie or a different kind of pen. I don't use pencil first even. I just dive into it and I just let it kind of create itself as it goes by really just repeating lines. I try to vary the line thickness, so you'll see in some parts I have thicker lines and in some parts I have thinner lines, and I really just let it build and build and build. So this is what I'm going to encourage you to do inside of the letters of your portfolio. So if you check out mine so far, you can see that I already have finished some of my letters and they have some really detailed patterns in here. But this one is a little more basic right now, and I'm going to add to it and let you just watch the process that I go through. So you can see that inside any given letter you can have more than one pattern. You can break up a letter into as many patterns as you feel like. But at the minimum, you should have one pattern in each letter, and they should be different patterns, so don't repeat the same thing multiple times. So to build it up right here, I see that there's a lot of space still, a lot of white. What I'm going to do is some hatch marks in some of these areas. So hatching is when you just make a series of lines in one direction. And you can see that by doing these hatch marks, it's making the paper a little darker. I could do the same thing then down this row here. Or maybe I would want to do something different, maybe cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is when you make lines in more than one direction. So if I made lines all in one direction here, then I could go back through and go in another direction afterwards. That is called cross-hatching. Now try to take your time when you're doing this. You will have the rest of this quarter to work on this. So that's going to be, for all classes, it'll be 3 class periods. Okay, so plenty of time. All right, I'll finish that one later. So now looking up here, I want to build onto this more. I think that I could do some extra diamonds in these spaces. I think I could do some extra line sequences throughout here. You may be thinking, well, where does Mrs. Teal get these ideas from? I can't think of this stuff. How does she do it? Well, you know what? When I started making these Zentangles or Zendoodles, I used books and pattern sheets. I used sheets like this that I found on the internet or in books, and I would find a picture that I liked. I'd see something that inspired me, like maybe this one right here, and then I would use that as inspiration. And when I look at this, I see little circles. So I'm going to make a series of circles in these areas and more here. Now remember, a pattern means you repeat. Okay, I might also want to fill some areas in so that it's a little darker. I could do that using a thin or a thick Sharpie. I could use hatching or cross hatching, or I could fill it in completely by just coloring the whole area in, or even coloring it in stripes. The cool thing about Zentangles that I really like so much is that the whole theory of it is that you can't really mess up with the Zentangle because you can always change it or add to it. So basically, if something happens that you don't like as you're working, what you'd want to do is try to change your pattern and make it look better. So, you know, there's really no way to mess it up unless you give up. All right, I'm just going to finish this one here and then show you how we're going to do our background. All right, so in the background area behind your name, we're going to use only colors, and we're going to keep with this theme of patterning. You can use any colors you want, but not black, and I really don't want you to leave anything completely white, which means this area here is actually not finished yet. So you could take a pencil first and make some marks. I'm trying to make it look like everything is kind of coming out from the center, because I think that's going to give emphasis on my name. So I could draw out some lines. I could create some simple designs. Here, I'm going to bring one here. And I'm going to do a zigzag pattern. Okay, and then just using Crayola washable markers, we're going to be coloring these in. And, you know, try to build things up just like we're doing with our names. It'll look better if you try to build as you go. Now look at what's happening here. This is something I should remind everyone about. Crayola markers are washable, so that means that they can smear. So unlike Sharpies, which we used inside our names, it's best if you work with your lighter colors first and then put the darker colors last, because I was getting some smearing happening. But you know, we'll do the best we can. If you want to use colored pencils, if you get frustrated because of smearing happening, feel free to use colored pencils instead in your background. In fact, that could be a really cool twist that some of you might want to put on yours. All right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing how your portfolios turn out. Remember, this is all about you making a nice space for you to keep your artwork in and to be able to keep all throughout your middle school years. And, you know, the more time you spend on it and the more you build up your patterns, the better it's probably going to look in the end. Thanks.